was leadership that we saw. Sadio Mané going back to that locker room. When I saw that, that was a game changer, and that was the platform that gave Senegal the opportunity to win the whole thing.
Yeah, Sadio goes back to the locker room to get the players that had already gone in protest to the locker room, to get them back out on the pitch, to be there for the penalty that Brahim Díaz eventually misses and sends the game to extra time. Let's take a look at some of the match stats from here because, like we said, a lot of the conversation will be around the controversy, but this was a fantastic game of football. Open, and you could say 0-0. Maybe sometimes don't look like great games. This was a fantastic game, back and forth, and you can see it by the match stats.
Yeah, the stats say one thing, but in terms of momentum and in terms of experience, the Senegalese said everything. But now, here to break it down even more is someone who was on site. Yes. African football expert Mimi Fawaz comes to mind. Let's bring her in, huh?
We have Mimi Fawaz joining us here from the stadium in Rabat in Morocco. And Mimi, first of all, I just need to get your initial reaction. You were on site there. Just set the scene for us here. Exactly just what happened in those final few minutes. What was the atmosphere like in the stadium?
Stefano, it was absolute chaos. When that penalty was awarded to Morocco and Brahim Díaz was like gearing up to take it, fights broke out on the pitch. The players upset with the decision that was made. To my left as well, there were upset fans who were very angry coming onto the pitch. The riot police were trying to calm everything down, put a barricade between the fans and the pitch. Behind me as well, there were journalists who were fighting and security had to come in and intervene. And me and some Moroccan fans were trying to calm the journalists down to make sure that the situation did not escalate. So there was so much going on in different sectors of the pitch. And to be honest with you, they're not the best scenes that we want to see in African football, fights breaking out like this. It was such a great tournament, great pitches, great infrastructure. And to see those scenes, a lot of people there was a bit of fear. I mean, it was intense in the stadium, that's for sure.
Mimi, refereeing decisions have been the big talk of the AFCON Cup of Nations, and today was no different. And DR Congo referee Jean-Jacques Ndala almost put his name in history for the wrong reasons with some of the decisions he made. One moment he disallows a goal that, in my opinion, should have stood for the Senegalese and Abdoulaye Seck. The next moment, he's giving a penalty to Morocco where Brahim Díaz gets that opportunity where he skews it. One of the worst penalty kicks I've ever seen, probably in the tournament's history. What was the feeling from your position when you saw that decision made, both to disallow the goal and to give the penalty for Morocco?
Yeah, I mean, the disallowed goal happened, and I think quite a few journalists were looking around and thinking, should that not go to VAR? Should he not have looked at VAR? Because Ismaila saw himself, the Senegalese player, was really surprised by the decision, but he made the decision without going to VAR. And then there was the Brahim Díaz, as we can see over there as well, where the penalty was awarded to Morocco, which Morocco, Brahim Díaz, we saw hitting it wide. That as well drew a lot of reaction from people, journalists on the pitch. Yeah, I can see again those scenes. I'm taking away a fan over there. So it was really intense. I cannot explain enough how intense the scenes were, Michael. A lot of Senegalese fans, as I saw, who were reacting, they felt it was soft. They didn't feel it should have been a penalty. That's why you saw a lot of reactions from the journalists behind me and as well from the Senegalese fans on the left of the page, and as well, I'm not quite sure what's going on. There looks to be some more fights breaking out behind. There's some more fights breaking out behind me at the moment. As you can imagine, very high emotions at the moment, very angry people. So I'm not quite sure. But I think security have run to try and calm the situation down, Michael.
Mimi, make sure you stay safe, please. Obviously, we know the tensions are running high on both sides here, so make sure you stay safe here while you're talking to us. I want to talk a little bit about the match, because obviously we talked about all of the controversy. How impressive was it from your angle to see the spirit of Senegal, to deal with all of the chaos and all of the madness that we saw at the end of that match, to still be able to get it across the line, to be able to continue that will to find a way to win this and get another trophy on enemy soil, because obviously they're in Morocco against Morocco in their home stadium?
Stefano, let me tell you, I spoke with the Federation a few days ago when they first arrived here in Rabat. And the federation official said that for them, the atmosphere will not be a problem. Let's not forget they played a World Cup qualifier back in September against the Democratic Republic of Congo in Kinshasa, where they were 2-0 behind. And in the last few minutes of the game, they won that 3-2. So you could really see them being able to handle the pressure on the pitch. It didn't cause them any problem. They are used to that. And we as well saw Mane. He showed true leadership on that pitch, calming his players. He even helped with the pre-assist that we saw Pape Gueye scoring the winner for Senegal. So they're a team where it calls for big players, big games to step up. And that was definitely what Mane did, helping his team, helping them to calm down when everything was going on the pitch and around the pitch.
Mimi, I love that we're talking about Sadio Mané because you and I have gone back and forth, and we actually spoke yesterday about how significant this could be for his legacy and for what he means to African football. I've often thought this, that Sadio Mané, should he win the African Cup of Nations, will go down as one of the greatest African footballers of all time. I put him in my top 3 right now, given the fact that this is 2 AFCONs that he's won. He's won a Champions League, and he is a legend, a living legend. Where would you put him in terms of one of the greatest of all times? And what does this mean for his legacy, not only as an African champion, but as a Senegalese legend?
Michael, definitely Sadio Mané has to be up there as one of the African legends of all time. This is his second Africa Cup of Nations title that he has won. I was there in Cameroon just 5 years ago when he scored that winning penalty for his country to seal the first ever historic Africa Cup of Nations. And again, just a month or so over, he as well scored the winner for his country to qualify them to Qatar at the World Cup. And we've seen him really be a leader in this competition, as we saw him getting that winner against Egypt in the 78th minute. In this game as well, he passed the pre-assist that then led to Pape Gueye scoring the winner. Don't forget, Sadio Mané is the all-time scorer of Senegal. He's definitely going to go into the history books as one of the greatest ever African players on the continent. For me, he definitely has to.
All right, Mimi, let's go to the other side, because Morocco comes into this tournament obviously as the hosts and as the large favorites to win this tournament. They get to the final and they come up just a bit short. You could even say that, I think the reports out there, this is maybe the most talented side in this tournament, but experience with Senegal clearly won out in the end. How disappointed is the federation? How disappointed are the fans that you're seeing there leave the stadium? And how big of a disappointment is this to end the tournament at home with a loss?
Stefano, let's clarify things for sure that Morocco are a very talented side. We definitely cannot say that they're not a talented side. They have quality players in their side. This is a side that went through to the semifinals, the first African side to go through to the semifinal of a World Cup that they did in Qatar. They were one of the favorites, as well as Senegal coming into the competition. So it's no surprise seeing both favorites playing in the final, but they're definitely going to be disappointed. They have been waiting 50 years to lift that trophy. The last time was in 1976. There's been huge pressure, as we've spoken about, on Walid Regragui, the coach, and as well the players. They grew as the competition progressed. But I don't know if maybe the pressure of trying to win it at home, waiting for so long, maybe got the better of them at the end of the day. The fans were leaving. The fans were frustrated. But it wasn't meant to be Morocco's day today.
Mimi, as we talk about Moroccan manager Walid Regragui, he's often looked at as the man who made history, got the team to a World Cup semifinal, first time ever in African nations done that. But in this African Cup of Nations, he's come under a lot of pressure where it felt like it was almost win or go home or be out of a job. What's the status of his job right now? Because it didn't seem like the pressure is quieted down going into this finals.
Michael, I always find the best way to know how people are thinking, or taxi drivers, speaking at the restaurant, speaking to locals. And even before getting the final, there were some of the taxi drivers that were saying, regardless of if he wins, they weren't happy about the way that the team were playing, that he had to go. There were others who disagreed. He himself, Walid Regragui, a question was asked to him, I think it was before the semifinal where he was told, well, shouldn't you have bulletproof? You took Morocco to the semifinals of a World Cup, the first African country to do so. You would think that even if whatever the result was, that you would be safe. And he answered by saying, you would think so as well, but things are different. The fans expect a lot, so there's a lot of pressure on him. It will be interesting to see if he will stay in his role or if he will be replaced ahead of the World Cup coming this summer. But for sure, many Moroccan fans are not happy. They're very upset that they weren't able to lift trophy that they were all thinking that they would be able to do it on home soil. The way.
Thank you, Mimi. One quick question, one final question for you here, because obviously the fans are upset. Brahim Díaz, no one more upset than him after that penalty and the way that it all went down. We know how talented he is, but this has to be a shocking moment for him specifically and for the Federation. Can you just walk me through what you saw there at the very end with that penalty and with his decision to take that panenka late on and miss that penalty?
Yeah, it would be very disappointing for him, wouldn't it be? Because he started the competition so well. This really was a breakout tournament for Brahim Díaz, scoring 5 goals consecutively, back to back in this competition. The first Moroccan to do so, scoring consecutively. He'll be disappointed, I think, the way things have ended, not getting that penalty, not being able to score that penalty. He also had some opportunities throughout the game where he wasn't able to really bury it in the back of the net. So he will be disappointed, but that doesn't take away the quality from Brahim Díaz. He definitely is a quality player. Yes, I could hear some of the Moroccan journalists and fans saying in this match, he just didn't come to the party. We just didn't see the Brahim Díaz that we'd seen for most of the competition.
Mimi, thank you so much for joining us. That perspective like no one else can give us, because you were at the game in the final in Morocco. Senegal wins their second AFCON title in the last 3 tournaments. Thank you so much, Mimi. All right, we have to just look one more time at the list of champions of AFCON, because Senegal now puts themselves on a list with their second title overall. As we see here, obviously Egypt at the top of that with 7. They get to the semifinals and lose Mohamed Salah. We'll have to wonder if we'll see him again at an AFCON. We'll have to wait and see. Cameroon with 5, Ghana with 4. But you look down at the bottom of that list, Senegal now with their second title, and Sadio Mané once again leading that team to another trophy. We have much more coming up on the Golazo Network, so make sure you stick with us for the wrap-up of all of the action on this Sunday.
Okay, let's see. So that's who scored the winner for Barca.
Where is this? What we just did, it's like a separate block. It's not even.